Good morning, everybody. Welcome to be a part of the Conversation Celebration Brunch. You're at our offices here in Ardmore, and thank you for bringing us into your home or your office, your kitchen, your backyard. Probably not backyard this morning. It's pretty chilly. And while you have your scrapple and eggs or your donut or your lox and bagel, we'll be telling you a little bit about be a part of the conversation and asking for your help. You know, when you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice because that's what's inside. When you squeeze a lemon, you get lemonade. When you squeeze people, you get what's inside as well. And we've all been squeezed these last 7, 8, 9, 10 months. And the need for be a part of the conversation is greater than it ever has been. Our kids are being squeezed in school. We're being squeezed in our daily lives, in our jobs, and in our ability to move around and see our loved ones and just go out and take a breath of fresh air. And when that kind of stuff happens, that's when we need help more than ever. That's when our kids start to stress. That's when our kids start to have bad behaviors. And as parents, we need to keep our families together and we need information. And that's what Be a Part of the Conversation is all about. So Be a Part of the Conversation has been squeezed this year as well. And all I have to say is that any of you who have been to our programs, you know what it's like when we all get together and we have these terrific presenters and then we go into our breakouts and then we come back. So how do you do that in a COVID environment? Well, the best thing I can tell you is that when we got squeezed, what came out from Kim and from Judy and from Kara is just the best of the best. You're going to see how we're dealing with COVID, how we are getting our message out to more people, how we are running more programs. We need your help to do this, and that's really important this morning. We don't accept any fees to come in and participate in our programs. What does happen is we get support from organizations to run the programs. Our costs are down a little bit this year. We haven't had to have our presenters travel and stay in hotels. We haven't had to rent facilities to run our programs, but we also haven't had the sponsors that we usually have at those events. And so we need your help this morning. We've got some lofty goals. You're going to see some silent auction items, and I'll talk about them more a little bit later. There's also a simple donate button that you can help us make our lofty goal of $100,000. You're going to hear a lot over the next 45 minutes or so about be a part of the conversation, and we hope you will join in. For those of you who have been with us a long time, those of you who were at Joe and Mary's last year for our brunch on Masters Weekend, who would have thought that the first week of December might also be Masters Weekend this year? It almost was. But those of you who have been with us a long time, you already know, and you're going to see some of the things that are different and changing. Those of you who are new to us this morning, you're in for a real treat. And so I'm going to get you started on that road to learning more about be a part of the conversation. I'm going to give you the heart and the soul and the director of BPOC, Kim Porter. Thanks.
Thank you, Casey, so much. We are so lucky to have Casey not only as our Master of Ceremonies this morning, but also he is the president of our board of directors. And he is a dear friend to so many of us who, like Casey, are passionate about increasing awareness about substance use. I hope you're all safe and sound and in good health. I sincerely wish we could be together in person, serving you a lovely brunch right now. I truly appreciate your joining us virtually. We'll be together this morning until no later than 12 o'clock. If you're on a cell phone, you're going to need to tap the play button as each new screen comes up. We're coming to you live from Ardmore in our lovely new office. Casey and I are here with our program director, Judy Hirsch, who's managing this virtual show, And our communications manager, Kara Schwartz, is also here. She will be sending out updates in the chat box throughout the program. Please check out that chat box tab where you can say hello, post a message, and find helpful information that Kara will be posting. I want you to know that we're maintaining a safe distance, wearing our masks when we're not on camera. But throughout the program, in addition to chatting, please check out those auction items that Casey mentioned. They were very generously contributed to support our organization, so we hope that you'll bid on them. We have a silent auction and a raffle, all of which you find on this page. The raffle will close at 11:45 this morning, so be sure to purchase tickets by clicking on the raffle tab. That winner will be announced at the end of this program. The silent auction will close at 12:30, so half an hour after the program ends. Judy Hirsch will be following up with our auction winners to arrange delivery. While the auction and raffle will end today, this site will be available through the rest of this calendar year, so through the end of December. So please feel free to invite friends, visit this page, and support, be a part of the conversation. And I want to really thank our event sponsors. They really have made a difference for us this year, and we're so grateful to them. Our Rhodium sponsor is the Midday Foundation, led by Susan Strauss-Kelly and Stephen Kelly. Thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you to the Gibson E. Holden Foundation and our friend Steve Perlman, along with Howard Solomon. Your support year after year means the world to us. Our silver sponsors are the Center for Families, Joe and Mary Fenkel, HM Royal Materials Distribution, IMC Construction, Kessler Topaz Meltzer and Czech, Lincoln Investment, Cindy and Bill McKernan, and Rob and Andrea Orsher. Thank you all so much. You'll find a list of these and other sponsors on our website, conversation.zone/celebration, which Kara will be sharing in the chat. I'd like to thank our entire board of directors and a giant virtual hug to our amazing event committee led by Lisa Broida Bailey. You rock. Lisa, Judy, Kara, Jean, Sue, Chris, Mary, Meredith, Catherine, you've all given so much of your time and creativity to help pull this virtual event together. A little later in this program, we'll be sharing a video montage of remarks from our Conversation Youth Inspiration Award recipients. But first, I'd like to introduce one of those honorees. His name is Steve Kerrigan. Steve has been a guest speaker for Be a Part of the Conversation on several occasions, sharing his recovery story whenever there's an opportunity to raise awareness about the opioid epidemic. Steve is a certified recovery specialist currently working with the Council of Southeast Pennsylvania and with the ROSE program at Jefferson University Hospital. And now, Steve Kerrigan.
Hi everybody, my name is Stephen Kerrigan and I'm a person in long-term recovery. First of all, I would just like to thank Judy and Kim and everyone at Be a Part of the Conversation. Honored to be recognized with the Conversation Youth Inspiration Award, and thank you for everything you all do. As a person in recovery, I can't tell you how important everything you do is for people like me. I've been asked to touch a little bit today on how I celebrate my recovery. I've been very fortunate through my program of recovery to find a sense of purpose that I was severely lacking throughout my substance abuse. Through my program, I've learned to be useful and work with other people, specifically those who suffer from substance use disorder. And I've been very fortunate to translate that professionally. They say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And that is very much my experience. I'm a certified recovery specialist, and I am very fortunate to throw my leg out of bed every morning with a smile on my face and come into my job and feel like I'm useful, feel like I'm helping people who struggle with the same things that I did. And I've also been asked to touch on why it's important to be a part of the conversation. And as a person in recovery, when I started my recovery journey, I didn't feel like I had a voice. I think people like me are very fortunate that these conversations exist as a group of people who maybe don't know how to advocate for themselves or get the help that they need. When this is an open line of conversation, we're able to do things like reduce stigma and make people like myself comfortable with helping others, getting people the help that they need. So again, I just wanted to thank you. It's an honor, and I'm super grateful to have you all in my life. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Steve. As you probably know, Be a Part of the Conversation was founded 9.5 years ago with the mission of creating community events that raise awareness about substance use, misuse, and addiction. So what's a nonprofit to do when we're a community-based organization and we're in the midst of a pandemic that requires us to stop gathering together in person? Well, you may have heard of this awesome solution called Zoom. We have taken all of our programming online, and to give you an idea of how that's been going, before COVID came along, we were in the community centers, libraries, and other public venues once or twice a week throughout the region, with an average of attendance of about 50 people for each program. Since we've moved to Zoom at the end of March, we've presented almost 40 programs online, addressing 27 different topics, with an average online attendance of 68 participants. And when I look to see how many people have been attending just since September, these last few months, our average attendance is actually 88 people for each program. So yes, we have all got Zoom fatigue, but clearly the need for increased awareness about substance use disorders and their prevention could not be more evident. Individuals with substance use disorder and the people who love them are all feeling the pain of this pandemic in a really profound way. Increasing awareness, reducing stigma, and learning about pathways to recovery are needed now more than ever. Over the past several years, Be a Part of the Conversation has been privileged to serve the 5 counties in southeastern Pennsylvania: Montgomery, Chester, Bucks, Delaware, and Philadelphia. And one of the unexpected outcomes of this transition to an online presence has been the growth of our audience. People are joining us from outside the region and even outside the state, attending our programs, as well as parent partnership meetings that are going on online. And while many of our programs are not recorded, our presence on YouTube is getting stronger with each recorded program that we post. And no one has ever had to pay to attend these community events that often feature some of the most amazing experts in the field of addiction. We cannot wait to be with you again in person, and we'll definitely, in the meantime, though, be maintaining an online presence, and going forward, we're going to supplement those community events with an online presence because we know that it is serving a lot more folks in a much broader geographical area. We'll now show you a brief video that provides a snapshot of the programs we've presented just since this past March. And you'll also see the faces of many of our presenters who joined us online. And at the end, you'll hear a few words from some of our attendees as read by some dear friends of Be a Part of the Conversation.
This program summed up and explained what is a very complex situation.
I walked my computer over to my neighbor's house and shared the program with her.
It was so helpful to hear a mix of professionals and real-life folks that have been through the recovery process.
Presenters offered a balanced approach to the topics supported by scientific.
What amazing work you are doing. Providing a platform for these influential professionals to speak to us is so appreciated and valuable. If I miss one, I can pull it up on your website. Thank you.
Nothing is more important to me than my kids. When I felt there was nowhere to turn, I was told to try a parent partnership meeting. The other parents carried me through the toughest time in my life. I can't say enough about how much your meetings have helped me.
The parent partnership page on the website is a lifeline for me and other parents. It's a great resource for information and meetings and ways to connect with other parents that are going through similar experiences, especially now when we're all feeling so isolated during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I look forward to face-to-face meetings again, but the online meetings are so convenient. No traffic, no dinner rush, but I do miss the hugs and the meeting after the meeting. Either way, I'll keep coming back.
Thanks, Pam and Bill. And thanks, Lisa and others that were so kind to read that feedback. So you've just learned a little more about how Be a Part of the Conversation helps our communities. I'm going to ask you now to look at a few auction items like a Zoom class for 8 people offered by a new catering. 8 people in 8 different homes can cook a meal together. I'm also going to tell you one of the great things about being live is that as donations are coming in and we've crossed the $80,000 mark, a few people that just gave in the last few minutes, Kate McGill, Mike Blanche, Deb McLaughlin, and Pam Roberts. Thanks again. We appreciate all that you are doing for us. In addition, this morning, Be a Part of the Conversation has some people that we want to honor and some people that we want to recognize and present to you so you can get to know them a little better. Kim is going to talk about our award recipients now. Thanks. I'll see you again.
Thanks, Casey. Okay, so it's time for you to meet our Conversation Inspiration Award recipient, Dr. Steve Morricone. Why would an organization focused on educating the public about substance use disorders be honoring an oral surgeon? Well, you'll understand completely when you hear his remarks. Dr. Morricone has graciously spoken at our Shining a Light on the Opioid Epidemic programs many, many times. And I know that he has made a dramatic difference in Pennsylvania's reduction of prescribed opioids. He's currently the Pennsylvania Dental Association's official lecturer on safe prescribing practices. Dr. Morricone's 2-hour course is required for dentists to be licensed in the state of Pennsylvania. I think you'll agree that dental patients all over Pennsylvania are in better hands thanks to Dr. Morricone.
My name is Steve Morricone. I'm an oral surgeon in the Abington, Jenkintown area. I've been in private practice for many years. And I wanted to first, though, say thank you for being awarded this honor, the Conversation Inspiration Award from Be a Part of the Conversation. I really appreciate it, and I thank Kim Porter and all of the folks in her organization for recognizing me in this achievement. I like to say, when I do receive awards and honors such as this, I always feel unworthy to an extent, because I feel like there are so many people who are doing so much more than I have done. But we try, and I feel like I've contributed a piece to this puzzle, and I feel very strongly about having done so. And I can tell you why. Being an oral surgeon, as you know, most of you who've had your wisdom teeth removed know the pain that can be attendant to that type of procedure. And being an oral surgeon now for 30 some odd years, I am arguably as culpable as any other healthcare practitioner in terms of prescribing opioids over all these years. And of course, for many years, we thought it was fine. There was no issue with it back in the 80s and early 90s. But then as the 90s progressed and we got into the 2000s, it became obvious that there were some significant problems with the use of opioids. And it wasn't until about 4 years ago that I thought, okay, well, this is really becoming a problem. We knew that with the advent of OxyContin and other drugs, and then later fentanyl, heroin, and now crystal meth, that these were highly addictive drugs. We knew that, but nevertheless, we thought for the short-term pain that we were prescribing for, it was a good idea. Well, that's turned out not to be the case, certainly not in dentistry. And about 4 years ago, I decided to set up a symposium at my hospital at Abington, where I also run a training program to address this issue. We brought a number of people together. Through that, I met Kim Porter and the organization Be a Part of the Conversation. And to me, it's really been an amazing journey. I put the conference together and subsequently was asked to speak on behalf of dentists in the state of Pennsylvania as one of the certified lecturers for what became Act 124, which is a law in the state of Pennsylvania that requires all healthcare practitioners to have 2 hours of continuing education in substance use disorder and also in safe prescribing practices. I reached that ability to discuss that because at some point during my career, even prior to being involved with this movement, as it were, I started to decrease the number of opioids that I was prescribing because I saw that many of my patients didn't take them or threw them out or saved them. And I would always call my patients the day after surgery, and I knew that many of them were not using it. Now, of course, there were some that used it all and wanted more, but that they seemed in the minority. So I thought, well, let me decrease the number of pills that I'm giving. So I went down from 20 to 10 to 6 pills per patient per procedure. And little by little, I started to winnow it down to almost nothing until today. Now, I have not prescribed an opioid for oral surgery in over 3 years. And I mean, not at all. There are statistics that show that dentists were the number 2 prescribers of opioids in the United States. This was back in the 2010s, 12s or so. And at that time, and not too far after that, we were leaving about 50 million unused pills in the population throughout the United States. This was a study done at Penn. And that's pretty significant when you consider that there are that many pills lying around in people's pocketbooks and medicine cabinets and around the house that were able to be misused by others in the household or others who were visiting the household. And so that was part of the problem. The other part of the problem, of course, as we know, is the drug companies pushed these drugs very heavily back in the mid-90s and later to the point now where many of them are being sued. And in fact, Purdue Pharma, I believe, has just pleaded guilty to some significant charges based on the fact that they misled not only the public, but doctors as well. And so I reached a point again where, I started to figure out that, we could use Tylenol and Advil as a pain medication. And as a result of that, I got involved with the state of Pennsylvania, now delivering this 2-hour lecture to those who require it for licensure in the state. And it's been an interesting journey for me because I've met a whole lot of people through this that I never thought to meet before. I personally have no experience with opioid addiction, but I certainly know people that have, and I've met plenty of those who are willing to talk about it through Kim and others. It has really been an eye-opening experience for me. In fact, I think one of the seminal events for me to get involved with this was a fellow who came to our house some years ago to paint. And he had just started his business a year or so before, did beautiful work. And in the course of conversation, with my wife, actually, he disclosed that he was in recovery. And I didn't even really actually know what recovery meant at that time, or that addiction is a disease that lasts for your life. Once you're addicted forever, and you're always in recovery. You're never not done with it. And so hearing his story, and my wife eventually, who was a writer, sitting down and talking to him about it and preparing some stories regarding his life in the past, it was literally hair-raising what some folks would do to obtain opioids and other substances to assuage their pain or whatever it might have been. And so entering into that world through him, for me, was very, very impactful. And it made me even more inclined to talk about this problem with my colleagues. And I was very fortunate to be able to now become sort of a spokesman for it. And I have to say that our efforts, not just mine, but those of others who lecture, through educational seminars and forums, through organizations such as Be a Part of the Conversation, we have made a dent, certainly from my standpoint, in the amount of opioids that are being prescribed around the country. So general dentists have dropped now quite a bit in the standings, as it were, for opioid prescribing. We're still not zero, and we should be, as is my argument. But we're getting there, and the more folks hear about this, and the more healthcare practitioners are taught that opioids are not going to work for acute pain, in the very, very vast majority of cases, we can start to change behaviors. It's very heartening to me that almost all dental schools in the United States, and many of the residency training programs, again, of which I run one, are teaching alternatives to prescribing opioids, and are insisting that their students and residents really assess their patients to be sure that opioids are not necessary. So it's really been, for me, a meaningful journey. I feel like we've made an impact on the prescribing practices of dentists around the country. I've been gratified and humbled to meet the people that I've met through this, those in recovery. You talk about bravery. I mean, I wouldn't even understand what that means, except having met folks that have recovered from addiction and continue on a daily basis to deal with it forever. It's remarkable, and it's remarkable to me, those that stick with it, and so many do, and so many will, as long as Be a Part of the Conversation is around. So, in summary, I just want to say I very much appreciate this honor once again. I hope that in the future I can continue to make a difference through my life as a dental healthcare professional, and organizations like Be a Part of the Conversation are critical to the survival of so many of these folks who are addicted and who need the help, and not just them themselves, but their families, their brothers, their sisters, their aunts, their uncles. All of addiction is a family disease, and I know that Kim's organization deals with that too, recognizing that it isn't just the person in recovery, it's the entire family who's in recovery forever. And that obviously brings up the very beginning point that I make when I lecture on this, and that is the best thing that could happen with addiction is for it not to occur at all. And if we, as dentists anyway, are vigilant in not prescribing whenever possible, we ourselves at that level will have an influence on the rate of addiction in this country. We already are, and I hope that it continues. And I will dedicate what I can of my life remaining to see that that happens as much as possible. So once again, thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Doc, and congratulations. And thank you for all the hard work that you do. We have picked up another couple of great donations. These are just a couple of them in the last few minutes. Lauren Glon, Alana Graves, Carolyn Denon. We really appreciate all the help that we're getting as we move forward through our presentation this morning. And you're going to see some incredible young people in the next minute or two. But let me just talk to you one more time about raffle tickets for a 55-inch TV, a smart TV, and about a Jay Wright signed basketball, a Gary Player signed golf hat, a breakfast at the Turning Point, dinner at Nectar. There are so many wonderful items on our silent auction list. And of course, you can just click that donate button. I'm going to bring Kim back to talk about our next round of special people.
Thank you again, Casey. And thank you, Steve Morricone. Really appreciate all that you do for us and for the whole state of Pennsylvania. Our final video for you this morning is an amazing compilation of remarks from our Conversation Youth Inspiration Award recipients. You'll find the full videos of our honorees' remarks on our website, conversation.zone/celebration, which Kara will be sharing in the live chat. Many of the young people you're about to hear from have shared their personal stories with our program attendees. By being so transparent, so insightful, they're helping families and the general public to see the person and not just a statistic. To hear about a life that has been devastated by addiction and to see the beauty of each of these amazing individuals is absolutely transformative. Here are our Conversation Youth Inspiration Award recipients.
I think it's important to be a part of the conversation.
It's important to be a part of the conversation.
It's important for me to be a part of the conversation.
It's important for us to be a part of the conversation.
It's important to be a part of the conversation because if I had had those conversations with my family and in my life earlier on, the trajectory of my life could have changed. And, you know, in talking about how I celebrate, you know, my recovery today, I get to live, you know, the life that maybe I could have been able to live if those conversations were had. And
because conversations are how our voices get heard, and not just our voices, but the voices of everyone within the community.
Because I've had a few opportunities to speak to parents for Kim and be the young adult in recovery, and I've gotten much positive feedback from many parents and helped them in ways that I didn't know I was able to do.
So that we can all work together as a community and really smash the stigmas that are associated with a substance use disorder and show that recovery is a beautiful process and recovery should absolutely be celebrated on a daily basis.
In today's society, it's really important for us to educate and inform not only our youth, but the parents of our next generation as to not only what to look for, but you know, how to look for those things. What are some early warning signs? What are things that their teens or their young adults could be exposed to?
It's how we reduce stigma. It's how we move for social justice, and it's how we recover. As a person in recovery, I believe lived experience is how we reach individuals that are still searching for that support they need to recover.
We need to engage in these conversations because if we don't, young people are going to engage in these conversations with others who might not have the information that they need to make a healthy choice moving forward.
It's too easy not to be. And when we stay out of the conversation, that's what kind of allows people to end up hurting and suffering, which is why it's important, you know, to be part of the conversation with kids in high school, with kids in middle school, with kids in elementary school, with kids in kindergarten, you know, any age.
I believe in breaking down stigma and empowering people to find and access a recovery that works for them. Talking about our experiences in recovery lets others know that it is possible. The variation in our stories and lived experience is also proof that recovery is not one size fits all. That's why it's important to be part of the conversation.
When it comes to addiction, there's so much stigma attached to this disease. There's so much fear and anger and sadness, and all of that is incredibly valid.
And I truly believe that without being a part of the conversation, my family relationships with my mom, with my sister, with everyone wouldn't look like it looked today.
That's like what's most important to me because it's really important that people understand that it can happen to anybody and we're all normal people.
Be a part of the conversation has been nothing but good to me and my family. It's giving my parents the support they needed when I was at my worst and help them put their pieces back together. And I'm so, so grateful for that. They're my biggest support today.
It was so powerful for me to realize that discussing the emotions and experiences that led me to use in the first place was messy but necessary work, not just for me, but for my family and for the people and clients who I hope to help in the future.
Well, first of all, it reminds me of, I get to replay my story. It reminds me of what I've been through. It reminds me how strong that I am. And then it brings me hope that like someone's going to hear me, and it's like my little piece, like my little story, like talking to, 5, 10, 50 people might make a little bit of a difference.
The discussion is something that has a tremendous amount of value to my life, but more importantly, knowledge that hopefully we can use to help others. As a large part of the recovery movement, the recovery community is about helping others. So we always implore everyone and anyone can be a part of it, whether if it's somebody directly hurting from addiction or a family member or an uncle, it doesn't go untouched.
Personally speaking, I've been to a few of the events with Kim and Judy and some of the speakers, and I really feel like a lot of parents leave there much better off of knowing some of the things that could be issues or could be, risks to their teens, such as, just even smoking nicotine or messing around with dabs, oils, or vapes.
Because I know that when I started doing drugs and alcohol and whatnot, I had no idea what I was really getting into.
But through organizations like Be a Part of the Conversation, through the work that Be a Part of the Conversation does every single day, they are creating a space for our community to come together and feel safe and to be vulnerable, to share their concerns about their loved ones, their concerns about their children, their concerns about their community or their friends, and to learn something.
For me, the most surprising thing is when you commit to being sober and you commit to recovery for the long haul, the resourcefulness that once was aimed at getting substances and drinking through all costs is now aimed at finding ways to stay sober and to be helpful to the people you love at all costs.
It's always an honor to be a part of something today. I never thought I would be chosen to do anything when I was younger. I thought I would never amount to anything, but today, that's not the case.
Having an interest in a discussion or knowledge about recovery, addiction, signs and symptoms gives us an opportunity to have a set of tools or knowledge to be part of a resolution rather than being part of a problem. For a long period of my life, everything was about avoiding that conversation, avoiding an intervention, avoiding people being frustrated with where I was.
All this stuff is extremely important that we have and host forums like Kim and Judy do to talk about these issues, because otherwise they kind of go unforeseen and we don't really discuss them. And this is what leads to individuals that struggle with addiction and alcoholism much later on in life.
To learn a little bit about marijuana, a topic that is rampant with misinformation, to learn how to keep themselves healthy as they are struggling with a family member who is suffering from addiction.
This coronavirus thing stinks. It sucks we can't all be together today, but I didn't want to let it go unnoticed. I'm very grateful for this.
So in this time, these challenging COVID quarantine-ridden times, I know it can be quite challenging for people in recovery. The thing that has been a constant for me and something that I focus on within and outside of COVID and quarantine times is to focus on health and fitness.
I'm so proud of all of us for persevering through not only this pandemic, but through the feeling of hopelessness that some of you know too well.
On a daily basis, I start every single morning off by taking my dog for a 5-mile walk around the city of Philadelphia. It's a great way to get out, get some fresh air. I know that a lot of people staying inside, working from home. If the very first thing you do in the day is get out and take a walk, I found it a great way to start the day.
How I celebrate my recovery is allowing myself to stay present in the good moments and the painful ones. Whether it is holding a space for a patient at the treatment center I work at, or laughing with my fellow alcoholics in a Zoom meeting, I know that staying present is something to be celebrated.
The healing that my mom has experienced in being a part of this organization has enabled us to rebuild our relationship and really allow her to get me the help that I need and provide the support that I needed to recover.
The things that I've adapted and changed as I get older in my recovery have been very exciting to see.
I guess the easiest way to say it is I celebrate recovery by showing up for life. I'm a good daughter, a good friend, a good sister. I was able to complete things that I wanted to complete.
Today I am 2.5 years sober. Life is beautiful. I used for the better part of my life, about 19 years. So I cannot express how happy and joyful I am today and the opportunities that have arisen in my life from becoming sober.
It doesn't look a lot like recovery did when I was a year or 2 years sober, in early recovery. And
today I get to work as a therapist in the field and help other people. And I guess I can just show up regardless of what life is throwing at me.
About 8.5 years I've been doing this and trying to figure out how to be sober happier and better and more honestly.
And if I can help one person, possibly not pick up that drink or drug or ask for help, then that's all I really need.
And so I ask that you join in on these conversations whenever they're happening in your community to empower your community to make healthy choices moving forward.
Be a part of the conversation is personally important to me because it got Brittany out of the I don't want to talk to anybody zone, as far as being more open about her problem and accepting help and seeing that she wasn't alone and there were a lot of people that felt similar to her. And that is kind of how I got a connection to be a part of the conversation, because it was one place that we could both go together. And I wasn't sitting at an NA meeting with my head in between my legs because I shouldn't have been there, but it was the only way I could get her to go. So I went anyway, despite how probably wrong that was. It was something I knew she needed to do, so I did it anyway. And everything I heard, I kept to myself and never said a word about anything. NA meeting. So that's about all I got.
Wow. Thank you to all of our awardees. I am just honored to know all of you, and thank you for the time that you took to put those videos together. I'm really and truly grateful. And I just want to say before we say goodbye, and Casey's going to come back and say a few more words and give you some updates. But I just wanted to say that I know we've had some technical difficulties, and I really apologize for that. This is a unique platform, but our troops are hanging in there. I just want you to know that all of this will be recorded and posted in its completion. And as I said earlier, on our website, you can see all the individual videos of those folks who spoke. But we will be posting this entire program again. Give us a little time to process all of that. But I just want to thank you so much for hanging in there with us, for all your amazing support. And I'm going to turn it back over to Casey Duffy. Thank you.
Boy, is that a group of winners or what? If you know, you know. That is, Timmy and Laura and Katie and Matt. and Sean, all of you. I liked what Marta said the best. I celebrate my recovery by showing up for life every day. Just fantastic. It's been a great morning for us. And another couple of donations. Doug, thanks a lot, Doug Levitt and Rachel Bailey. Thank you so much. And our television goes to, if we had a drum, we'd drum roll right now. Our raffle winner is Katie Greeley. Congratulations, Katie. Listen, as soon as we are all as soon as the vaccine comes, we're coming to your house to watch a movie, Katie. Get ready for us. Thank you so much for having us this morning. The silent auction is open for another 10 or 15 minutes. So put those last minute bids in, take a look. If you got a text, that you were outbid on an item, you still have a chance to go back in and take it for your own. We love each and every one of you. We're glad that you helped us this morning. We're glad that we get a chance to help you every day of the year. God bless you and have a great rest of the day. Thank you.